What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Weekly Ritual. In April 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen disappeared, and the Army did nothing. Her remains were discovered last week. Her apparent murderer committed suicide, and one other person is in custody. But in the meantime, questions remain. We start this week's Weekly Ritual with a somber remembrance of two musical giants that left us. Composer Ennio Morricone passed away at age 91. He died after breaking his leg last week, and then he just deteriorated and passed suddenly. The great Italian composer won an Oscar award for his soundtrack to Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight movie a few years back, but of course is world-renowned for his many contributions to movie scores such as The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and many Dario Argento movies, and much more. Of course, Morricone also had a huge impact on rock and metal music, notably influencing Metallica. They perhaps borrowed some of his music for their own purposes, as well as opened every concert they have ever done since 1984 with the song The Ecstasy of Gold from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Another legend who passed on this week, the great country fiddler Charlie Daniels, passed away at age 83 after a stroke. Of course, Charlie is known for his great composition, The Devil Went Down to Georgia, his incendiary fiddle playing, but of course he also contributed to many rock records, including exceptionally legendary albums by Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen. Now for some features that ran this week at Ghost Cult. Here on YouTube, we interviewed Devin Shedeker from the Acacia Strain. We talked all about their upcoming new record, Slow Decay, coming out on Rise Records July 24th, and their series of incredible singles leading up to that release. Devin also talked about the band being on tour during the coronavirus outbreak and what the future of Acacia Strain shows might look like after the pandemic is over. We also interviewed Bad Graphics Ghost and Tron Jovi from Gorilla Ghost. We talked to the Milwaukee underground hip-hop troupe all about their upcoming new record, We Get What We Deserve, on Triple I Industries Records. And we had a fun talk about hip-hop and commercialism and politics and a whole lot more. On the podcast front, we interviewed Chris from Ailstorm all about their brand new album, The Curse of the Crystal Skull, out now on Napalm Records. We also interviewed the incredible Dee Snider. Dee's brand new DVD and live album, For the Love of Metal Live, is coming out soon from Napalm Records. Dee was incredible and very generous with his time, and we talked about his whole career, his recent resurgence, and many, many other gems. Another interview we ran this week, Carol Hodge was interviewed by Ghost Cult scribe Duncan Evans. Carol, you may know her work from being a performer with Steve from Crass or the Wellhearts in the UK, but her new solo album is out now. Remember, you still have a chance to win an awesome merch bundle from Cro-Mags and Ghost Cult. Cro-Mags' first album in 23 years, In the Beginning, released just recently from Mission 2 Entertainment, and we partnered up with them to bring you a sweet vinyl and t-shirt combo. You can enter that contest on Ghost Cult's Facebook. And now for the news rundown. Here's a look at some of the news going on this week in the heavy music world. We start this week with some bad news. Shows that have been canceled because of the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic. Every time I say coronavirus, you take a drink at home. Again, remember to please drink responsibly. Rat has decided to cancel all of their 2020 shows after just recently canceling their big tour with Slaughter and Tom Kiefer of Cinderella. The band has decided to stay off the road and continue to work on new music that they were planning to release next year anyway. No word yet on the rescheduled dates for Rat. Of course, the band is enjoying a huge resurgence right now thanks to the Geico commercial featuring their signature song, Round and Round. Not quite news of a cancellation, but some speculation from Phil Collen of Def Leppard. Phil was doing an interview regarding his new fitness routine that you can watch every week on YouTube, and Phil was interviewed and basically said that his opinion of the stadium tour with Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Joan Jett, and more may only be 50-50 in his opinion. Obviously, that's just speculation, but pretty bad when one of the leading members of the co-headlining band is not sure that tour is going to happen in 2021 either. Wear your masks. and continue social distancing practices. Otherwise, we're never going to get back our concerts and shows. In some good news, Deftones, Gojira, and Poppy have rebooked all of their 2020 dates to 2021 now. That tour, instead of taking place over the summer, will in fact happen in August and September of 2021. Pretty excited. Deftones will have a new album. Gojira is expected to release a new album in that time, and maybe even some new music from Poppy. So really cool. And in another bit of rebooking news, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's annual induction concert has officially been canceled. Actually, they canceled that back in the spring, but they were hoping that maybe they could still hold the live event. It has now been rescheduled for November 7th as a streaming event only, probably with quarantined performances and or presentations. Of course, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or Hall of Shame, if you're not a fan, will induct Depeche Mode, Nine Inch Nails, Biggie Smalls, T-Rex, Whitney Houston, and the Doobie Brothers, among others. In some super cool news from the black metal scene, Breed will release a new song this week, which I cannot pronounce because it's Norwegian, but I'm going to try. It's Bjorg. My apologies to all our Norwegian viewers and fans. But Ghost Cult will be premiering the new single, and we're really stoked about that. We're a huge fan of the band. They are working on a new album. They're expected to go in and record that album this fall for a 2021 release. The band is also going to open the Norwegian concert scene at the John D. Rockefeller venue in Oslo on August 15th, where they will also unveil Breed Beer. Really cool stuff going on with that band. Super excited for this new song and a new album in 2021. As part of the big Bandcamp Friday Free Day this past week on July 3rd, Chemist released a new 2-song EP, including a Doom cover of Skulls by Misfits and an acoustic version of an older song. Good news for Bay Area thrashers Violence. They've been in the studio recently and recorded a brand new cover and shot a video for that cover, yet to be revealed, but Violence has been working on a brand new album, their comeback album, since singer Sean Killian kicked cancer's ass and reunited with Phil Demmel, formerly of Machine Head, and drummer Perry Strickland. Also now in the band are Bobby Gustafson, formerly of Overkill, and Christian Olde Wilbers from Powerflow and formerly of Fear Factory. Super excited for some new Violence, including a cover. Speaking of covers, Drone Flower, the project from Caven's Stephen Brodsky and Marissa Nadler, is releasing a new 7-inch single only on vinyl on July 17th, which will include a cover of Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight. Cannot get enough covers of Phil Collins songs, especially that one. Super cool for some new Drone Flower stuff. You can pick up that exclusive vinyl only at Newbury Comics. In other news, Greg Puciato, formerly of the Dillinger Escape Plan and also his band Black Queen, will release a brand new solo song this coming week. Greg is working on his full-length debut album, which is also said to include a second album of remixes. Very excited about this. This will appear on his new label, Federal Prisoner Records. And finally, in a news item we're super excited to report about, Wolfgang Van Halen, who has long been at work on his debut solo album, released a snippet of the first song this week on his Instagram. You can hear a quick clip of drums and bass of a song, said to be a very up-tempo rocker, and we're really excited to hear some music from Wolfie. He's actually been a guitar prodigy. He played bass with his uncle and his famous father, Eddie Van Halen, in Van Halen. He was the musical director for the Van Halen reunion tours with David Lee Roth. So really excited about solo new music from Wolfie. Now for a quick look at who rules in streaming. All the bands and artists keeping us entertained on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and more. Death to All dropped an awesome cover of Death, as they are wont to do, as they are all made up of former members of Death. And they dropped an incredible cover of Overactive Imagination. Hard to say if it's a cover, if most of those guys played in Death or with Death. Of course, the Death to All lineup includes former Death members Gene Hoglan, his Testament bandmate Steve DiGiorgio, the great Bobby Cobell on guitar, and also on guitar and vocals, Max Phelps of Death to All. We'd like to hear more covers from this Death to All unit. They had planned to tour all 2020, and perhaps we'll hear about some 2021 dates as well. At the movies, we've talked about here the supergroup of Scandinavian musicians led by Bjorn Speedstrid of Soilwork, famous for doing their movie covers, has launched a Patreon. You can go support them at the link below and hopefully inspire and influence their next season of covers of famous movie soundtracks. They spent the entire last few months during the quarantine covering songs from 80s movie soundtracks, and now they're moving into the 90s and taking suggestions from fans. And finally, make sure you're checking out Off the Road with Danny Wimmer Presents. Of course, Danny Wimmer Presents puts on amazing rock and metal festivals all through the USA every year, including Sonic Temple, Aftershock Sacramento, Welcome to Rockville, Epicenter, and a whole lot more. Recent guests have included Scott Ian and his wife Pearl, and this week included guests like Sully Erna of Godsmack. So check out Off the Road with Danny Wimmer Presents. And now for a quick rundown of new music out this week for New Music Friday, July 10th, 2020. New albums this week include Aceltias on Translation Lost Records, a bunch of reissues from Bloodhouse Nord on Spine Farm, Bulb, that's Misha Mansour's side project from Periphery. His Archives number 6 is out this week. He's basically releasing a new record every week this summer, which is incredible. Crown the Empire's Unplugged EP, Dance Gavin Dance's Afterburner. Disturbed is releasing their debut album on vinyl for the first time. Earth Crisis is releasing their classic Salvation of the Innocents on vinyl. And Zephyrum's new album is out on Metal Blade. Enough's Enough, band we love a lot here, Generation Brainwashed, is their new album out this Friday. Into Armor's covers EP, Garber's Day Revisited. Kiko Loureiro, his new solo album. Kiko's, of course, the lead guitarist from Megadeth. Mike Shinoda's Dropped Frames project releases its album this week. Dropped Frames is his series of live mixes and live recordings from Twitch that he did with fans. Polka Dot Cadaver reissuing one of their records this week. Sail from UK, incredible sludge prog band, is dropping their new single Mannequin. Sharptooth is releasing their new record on Pure Noise Records. Skeleton, incredible dirgy black and death metal band, on 20 Bucks Spin, releasing their self-titled album. The much anticipated Static X Project Regeneration, featuring the final tracks from Wayne Static. We're super pumped about that. Look for a review of that album on Ghost Cult. Who is releasing their debut album, The Gehrig, in a deluxe edition with a bunch of covers and alternate takes and guest stars. Voivod's new EP, The End of Dormancy, which is the kickoff to the new era of Voivod, including a new album soon. And finally, progressive rock band Voyager from Australia is releasing their album in a deluxe edition on Season of Mist. And now it's time for a look at our mailbag. Here's what we picked off the shelf this week to read and entertain ourselves with as we try not to go crazy in our 20th week of No Pants Every Day. First up, Queen, album by album. Incredible book by Martin Popoff. You know Martin is one of the deans of metal writers in the world. You see him very frequently on Banger TV and other websites he writes for, as well as his vast collection of books. This book's an amazing look at every Queen record, album by album, with gorgeous color photos and great storytelling, and even some interviews and great anecdotes from Martin. Another oldie but goodie we pulled off the shelf this week for the mailbag is Eric Peterson's debut comic book, The Burner, based on his Dragonlord album and band. This comic book came out in 2018. Eric wrote and conceived the entire story with artistry from Mats Englund and inks by Jay Mora. This is an incredible comic and a fantasy epic story combining Eric's incredible love of the occult and black metal. And last and not least, our vinyl pick of the week is the 2019 Record Store Day Deluxe Double Vinyl release of Alice Cooper's Dragontown. This is actually a very underrated, great album by Alice, and this deluxe edition for Record Store Day came complete with 2 colored vinyls, another gorgeous array of artwork and layout work. Looking forward to some new music from Alice soon. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of the Weekly Ritual. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe at the button below, and make sure to follow Ghost Cult at all our social medias, at Ghost Cult Mag on most of them, and of course ghostcultmag.com. It's very tough out there in the world right now. Please take care of yourselves, please take care of each other, and last and not least, wear your fucking mask.